Mayan society was quite complicated. This was because they had lots of different jobs, which created divisions between the social classes and separated the wealthy from the poor. The Mayans were advanced in science, architecture, farming techniques, astronomy, craftsmanship, and education, such as reading and writing. The Mayan ruler was a warlord, appointed to protect the city and provide for the people. He was surrounded by powerful nobility who worked alongside him in government. Priests were religious leaders as well as scientists and teachers. The common people worked on the land. They hunted animals and worked as craftsmen and women. Mayan farmers. The work of the Mayan farmers was essential. The farmers worked the land tirelessly using handmade stone tools. They made sure the ground was prepared for growing and harvesting the crops. It did not rain very often, and so farmers could not rely on rainfall to water their crops. They had to discover different ways to find water. They used a farming technique called slash and burn, meaning that they set fire to an area of the forest. This was a fast and efficient way to clear forest land and make better use of the water supply for the crops. Mayan merchants. As trade grew, Mayan merchants became extremely powerful. The merchants brought wealth and trade to Mayan society. They helped cities to grow businesses through trade. The merchants would travel from city to city selling products from other Mayan cities. They would exchange these for different products to sell in the next city. This meant that they slowly began to set up a trade network between different cities. The merchants traveled on the water by boat and on land. They played an important part in the building of Mayan roads. These roads were specially built to connect different Mayan cities. Mayan nobility. The Mayan ruler was surrounded by important people called the nobility. The nobility were people who had usually inherited lots of money. They were very rich and powerful. The ruler chose people of the nobility to carry out important jobs, and some were put into positions of power. They ruled in governments, helping run the kingdom by making decisions about the organization of towns, social events, ceremonies, and they would also decide how to punish criminals. Some of the nobility were appointed as policemen or military leaders, assisting the ruler or warlord in creating strategies to lead the Mayan soldiers into battle. Mayan priests. Mayan priests worked in the religious buildings, palaces, and oversaw all religious matters in Mayan cities. Priests were the most well-educated in Mayan society. They were also scientists, astronomers, mathematicians, doctors, and masters of reading and writing. They also taught the royal children how to read and write. Religion and rulership were closely linked. For example, peace was often settled, or a war was started because of religious problems. The king worked closely with the priests to rule the kingdom. Priests were very powerful and were often asked for advice from the rulers or king on all sorts of matters. The rulers. The king or ruler of the Mayan cities was extremely powerful. People believed he was chosen by their gods. As a warlord, it was his job to protect his territory and invade other lands. The people had high expectations. They believed that their ruler had to be a successful warlord. If he failed to fulfill his duties as warlord, then he could be challenged and overthrown. The ruler had to make sure that enough food had been grown or hunted to feed his people. The ruler built religious temples and monuments to please the gods and keep the people happy. Mayan scribes. It was the job of the scribes to write down any important information, like laws. They usually worked for Mayan rulers or Mayan royalty and their advisors. Scribes also wrote messages for rulers to other rulers or family members. Scribes were highly ranked in society. One of the reasons for this was because they could read and write. Hardly anyone could read and write in Mayan cities. Only the scribes and priests were allowed to learn how to. Anybody ranked lower than this was forbidden to learn how to read and write. The scribes were taught by the Mayan priests. Mayan women. Women did not hold positions of power in Mayan society. They did not sit as part of government. They were not priests, and they were not educated. Their job was to care for their homes, husbands, and children. They would complete housework, cook, garden, and take care of their children. Some women worked alongside their husbands on the land. One of the most important jobs women did was weaving. They made really detailed and beautiful cloth. They would make clothing for everyone in the city, including royalty. In their spare time, most women would weave cloth to earn extra money.